Do not settle for the crumbs. You should have the whole cake, the icing, and the cherry on top too.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Crumbs, a women's sport pod, episode 10. We've been, well, I don't want to say we're back and we didn't think we'd be back. We knew we'd be back for episode 10. It was touch and go whether it would be this week or whether it would be sometime in the future because Caro has left us. But the show must go on, Caro, and as much as I love you, I've given you the big X, and you can hear that voice in the background. Caro, just for this week, you're out. And the mighty Padge is here, Dylan Padgett. Welcome to the Crumbs. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited you're here, mate. You've been out the back doing some producing, and you've just been waiting for your chance to take Caro's spot, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. Caro's gone, and I've thought, you know what? Great opportunity to jump on the desk and talk some good sports podcast going on.
Absolutely. And I wanted to bring up a couple of photos. So for the viewers who are tuning in, Dill is a Bachelor of Sport Business graduate from 2023. And he came with us on our US tour in November. So that's Dill and I, you can see on the screen there, doing an amazing tour of Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, the home of the Raiders.
Like they say, once a Raider, always a Raider.
Once a Raider, always a Raider. A brilliant tour, and he was part of that. And then you can see him, he was out advertising the courses, a big supporter of everything we do here at Holmesglen. So I'm pretty pumped that he's joined us today. You will see next to Dylan, we have another special guest. She's just out in the background at the minute. I'm not going to introduce her. She needs a big introduction. But for now, she's just going to hang out. Hopefully she doesn't fall asleep. And we'll come back to her a little later. But we're going to kick things off with, there's two things we're going to talk about. So sort of a shortened episode this week. But the Professional Women's Hockey League we're going to talk about first. And we mentioned last week, Caro and I had a good chat talking all things PWHL and the massive season. So 6 teams with their own identity now, their own logos, and it's been a really successful season so far. But we wanted to talk this week a little bit about the Takeover Tour. Now, it's a tour. There are 9 different matches as part of the Professional Women's Hockey League. And basically the league are taking games to areas either in the US or in Canada where there are no current women's professional hockey teams. Now, we like to call them neutral sites. The league and other leagues too, and the WNBA have done this as well, play neutral site games, obviously to bring in different fans and to grow the sport and to grow the organisation. But at this particular point in time, the Takeover Tour is already is also an opportunity to test the waters, because we mentioned last week 2025-26 season. So next season, the league are looking to bring in 2 expansion teams. Now, where those expansion teams will end up, we do not know yet. But what we do know is it'll be the 7th and 8th team to join the Professional Women's Hockey League. And the tour has been a rousing success already. Seattle, 12,608 fans, the home of our special guest who we'll bring on in a minute. Vancouver, 19,038 fans, a record crowd in Canada for professional women's hockey. And then the tour went to Denver on their 3rd stop and broke the record of attendance in the US with over 14,000 fans. Now, it's been massive. This Vancouver match, and I don't know if you've seen any of this deal, you probably haven't. I'm not sure you're a big Professional Women's Hockey League fan. But it was a sellout. It's the largest neutral site game attendance we've ever seen. And what's really interesting about this is it outdrew every home game of an NHL team, so the Vancouver Canucks, so far this season, which is amazing in itself. Now, some might say that there's not a lot of hockey in Vancouver, so a lot of fans were buying tickets and wanted to be there. However, it's still it's still important. So the fact that nearly 20,000 fans in Canada are going to, or in Vancouver are going to watch women play hockey in itself is pretty amazing. So that one's awesome. So Vancouver. Denver obviously broke the record from a US perspective, and last season there were 2 neutral site games. There were 13,000 in Detroit, there were 8,000 in Pittsburgh, but there's over 14,000 in Denver. Where will these 2 teams end up? Any thoughts, Dill?
Well, I haven't actually seen a lot of it. I've seen some snippets here and there of the Professional Women's Hockey League, some footage from some games here and there, like on the Instagram Reels or the Facebook or the KO advertisement. Like, I've seen Reels and some short clippets of it. I haven't seen a full game of it, but I do know that from what I've seen, they do pack out a lot of fans, and a lot of people do follow it and enjoy the sport. But as anyone, men's, women's, is ice hockey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, ice hockey is one of the most incredible sports. I think if they're wanting to have expansion teams and they're wanting to, I don't especially know where they're going to go, but if they want an expansion team, my idea would be they would put an expansion team where there is a lot of viewership and a lot of people that would follow or already watching that don't have a team. So when that expansion team comes in, all those fans that love the game but don't have a team can jump on board, and it can already be a successful start for what an expansion club could be. That is where I would be looking at.
Yep. So I think this takeover tour is sort of testing those waters to see, well, how many people are going to turn up. And again, the more people that turn up to a game in Denver, so over 14,000, suddenly local organisations or businesses that are working out of Denver can see, okay, there's a market here. There's an opportunity for investment, and this is, fans want to come and watch games. It's important to note that I think 8 out of the 9 have a current NHL facility. Whether that's all that important or not remains to be seen, but it is potentially beneficial if they do. There's obviously other facilities. Obviously, a lot of ice hockey played across the US, so there's other facilities available, but that could be part of it. Whether they want to have a women's hockey team where there's a men's professional ice hockey team, that could come into the equation, but I think it is going to be attendance. They're going to get to the end here in St. Louis, so March 29th, the last neutral site game in St. Louis. They're going to look at the attendance. They're going to look at where it's sold out, how many people were watching, and how many people were watching locally sort of in that state as well. And just the fan reactions, I suppose, too, locally in those areas. But I'm really looking forward to following where this ends up, and it's sort of a trial that I think will start to sort of filter into other organisations.
Have any of these, the professional women's hockey leagues, is any of these actually, like, with, for example, the men's, you've got your Golden Knights and your Mighty Ducks and all that. Is any of those clubs, do they have a female
No, they're not.
team?
They're not affiliated with the NHL, so they're their own league with their own team names, their own logos, and they're completely independent. So no, and that, I think that was a good way to go. Yeah. Like the WNBA, they've got their own identity. They didn't come in and take the identity or sort of try and marry up. And I think that's where women's sport is going. It's different here in Australia, obviously, with AFLW, but then the whole makeup of sport here is very different, and particularly Australian rules football. So we'll be following that. But the other thing we're following really intently is Unrivaled. When I say we, I mean me. I know Caro has been following this too, but opening night is about to happen. So we're Friday in Australia, it's Thursday night in the US. Games kick off tomorrow, so Friday night, opening round of Unrivaled. For those who don't know a lot about it, and we've talked quite a bit about it, it's a highly anticipated 3x3 women's league that was co-founded by WNBA stars Nafisa Collier, Brianna Stewart, so 2 massive names in women's basketball. And we have 6 franchises, so 6 teams that exist within Unrivaled. And there's, as I said, great anticipation around this league. The league was created to provide domestic opportunities for American women's players. Historically, they've had to travel, they've had to play in Europe to just try and take the money, I guess, because their salaries weren't huge. They needed to do something in the off-season. Some of them weren't playing because they didn't want to travel, so they weren't playing sort of all year round. It's a great opportunity for them to earn more money, be on home soil, and also grow the sport. So obviously more eyes on them in the US. And
it's a smart way if they want more viewership or more, like, for especially like women's sport in general, bringing these type of franchises of sports together. Even though it's not a big, like, you get, like, for example, a basketball game is huge, like a long. But if you do, like, your 3-on-3 short fun games, there's, for example, like cricket, you have your test games, but then you got your Big Bash. A lot of people like Big Bash more because it's short and sweet. So it's smart bringing this in because you can get a lot more viewership, a lot more people coming to watch because it's in a shorter format and people are going to come in, enjoy it, and then they're like, all right, we're still not sitting here 4 hours later. No,
100%, and that's a good point. We'll talk about the rules in a second, but 6 teams, the Owls, the Laces, the Mist, the Rose, the Phantom, and the Vinyl. I am one of those people, I don't do a lot of gambling. Gamble responsibly, everyone listening. But I like if I'm watching the horse racing or if I'm following it, I sort of like to pick the jockeys' outfits. Like, I don't know anything about the horses or the odds or whatever.
Like the one with yellow stripes.
But I quite like the Vinyl. I like the logo. I like the Laces and I like the Owls. They're my 3 favourite. I kind of like the Mist as well. I don't have a favourite team yet. I want to watch a round before I decide. But these 6 teams are playing, and how cool is this? I know Caro would love this. But we kick off this season, so it runs for 8 weeks. And they're in Miami. So they're in Miami for 8 weeks. They play on the weekend. Beautiful weather. Nice place to be this time of year. No snow down in Miami. Let's go. But the first game, the opening game, will be the Mist playing the Owls, and it's the 2 co-founders of this league. It's Brianna Stewart playing Nafisa Collier.
Caro would love this.
Caro would love this. 7 p.m. in the US, obviously, not in Australia. But this is where it all starts, and I think it's pretty cool that they've got the opening round. They're the captains of their 2 teams. And that, as I said, they're in Miami, and you can see this amazing facility, just like the technology that's at play here. This is sort of next-gen stuff. Forget that it's a new league, it's a new format, this 3x3. The rules are slightly different. You know, it's 36 players, there's 6 players per team. But the facilities are mind-blowing. And what is happening for them as well, as far as the players being looked after, and what is included as part of this? Childcare during the day, at the games, after the games. There's nannies, there's professional chefs cooking good food. This venue, drones, LEDs, rail cams, so the arena they're playing at, it only seats 850 people, but the furthest seat is not more than 32 foot from the court. That's so unreal. There's 850. They're just sold out games every night. But everyone is right on. It's like they're on the court. It's like everyone's got a courtside seat, right? And this arena. It's not a stadium, but this state-of-the-art arena is part of the excitement of
it's like the next generation wave of exciting sport.
It is.
It's what people
quicker,
people want,
shorter,
people need.
Exciting, amazing technology, lights, sounds, and everyone right there. And obviously, they've got a broadcast deal, so everyone's going to be watching. But what's cool too, Dill?
What's it being streamed to for people at home that want to watch?
You'll be able to watch it here through ESPN.
Yep.
But in the US, there's a number of different networks, and I think some of the different games are streamed on different networks. But I believe ESPN will show it, so you can watch it here.
That's good to know.
But the Stars are praising this league just because of what experience they've had so far. I mean, the league hasn't even started, but some of the biggest names have come out, and obviously through their social media, and then Unrivaled's sharing some of this too, but the experience, the amenities, and how they're being treated like true professionals, because the WNBA, you might not know this, but even 2 years ago, they weren't allowed commercial flights. Like they weren't allowed their own flights.
That's
They
horrible.
had to fly just standard domestic flights. They had to sit around the airport and wait. NBA players,
No, private jets.
private planes. The women weren't allowed to do that. In fact, you got fined if you did it. I believe a team did that and
So
didn't go down well.
These players, are they the same players from the WNBA?
Yeah,
NBA?
36 of the best in the world
Caitlin
from
Clark,
the WNBA. Caitlin Clark's there's sort of two. There's probably the best player at the moment, the MVP from the Aces, and the Rookie of the Year. The two of them aren't playing, but in saying that, like, would have been massive if they played, but it's massive without them. It's 36 of the best in the world. And the cool thing too about this is it's being used as a way to promote women's basketball, but not to sort of bring down the WNBA. Like, they're working to grow the game. And obviously the players that are playing in Unrivaled are part of the WNBA.
Absolutely.
So they don't want to be taking away from the WA. They want to make it better and enrich.
They're trying to level it up.
Yep, enrich that experience. And so the players are coming out and saying, well, this has been amazing. There is a collective bargaining agreement negotiation coming up at the end of the season this year. And this particular, league could play a massive role in that negotiation, because the players are going to say, well, hang on, this is what you're paying us, this is what we get elsewhere, and these are the conditions, whereas
Give us
your
that coin.
conditions are not anywhere near that. So I think that's going to be a real interesting watch.
It's going to be a watch this space moment.
Watch this space, because this is going to have an impact. And when you say this is going to have an impact, it's not just on basketball, it's on women's sport
In general.
across the world, because the conditions for women historically have not been great. We can ask our guest, or we can talk to our guest about that a little bit later. So Unrivaled, for those who don't know a lot about it, as we said, 3x3. The court size will be different. So it's a condensed court. A typical WNBA court, 94 feet by 50 feet. This one's 49 by 72. So a pretty big difference. They're not 10-minute quarters, which is standard in WNBA. There'll be 3 7-minute quarters. And the fourth quarter is going to work a bit different. It's going to be called the winning quarter. And what that means is the team with the highest score through 3 quarters will have 11 points added to its total. Then both teams play the fourth quarter until they reach that total. So tomorrow night, if the Owls, let's just say if the Owls are beating the Mist, 40-35 at the end of the third quarter, the first team to 51 points will be the winner.
Oh, so you could be down for 40-35. The other team gets to 11 points. You start the fourth quarter.
But if you
reach 51,
if you reach 51 first, you win. Yep.
Wow.
There's never overtime, and we're thankful for this. We were at the baseball last night. It was very late, freezing cold, and we're a long way from home with traffic, and we were just like, please don't tie it, because we don't want extra innings.
It's like, get us home.
It's like that we're watching the Australian Open and we're up at midnight going, please, someone win this point.
Don't hit the net again.
No overtime in Unrivaled. Boom. That's good. Shot clock, a typical WNBA shot clock's 24 seconds. We want this game to be much more fast-paced. Shot clock's 18 seconds, so we're cutting 6 seconds, so we're cutting a quarter off the shot clock. Fouls, if a player's fouled, regardless of the shot type, there'll be 1 free throw assessed. The lone free throw's worth 2 points, and that's also great. The fouls, the shot clock, the court, the quarters, the venue. We'll be watching all of it.
To be honest, I'll be watching as well. This sounds like a great investment to women's basketball, and it's something that even people that don't watch women's basketball or sport, this is something that you need to get onto, because it sounds exciting.
That's the thing, excitement, right?
The next wave. It's not just women's basketball, but this could be the next wave of what's to come for women's sport. This could just be the start of that next chapter. the next generation coming through.
While we're recording here, and I'm not sure when people will watch this episode, but Ash Gardner just scored her first one-day century for Australia in the women's Ashes in the third one-dayer against England. So Ash Gardner, you superstar.
Come on, Aussies.
But can you imagine a world where the Australian women's cricket team play 5-on-5? So there's a bowler, a wicket-keeper and 3 fielders, a condensed field.
Well, imagine them. Yeah, imagine.
And
that.
it's like 10 overs, and it's like you just got to hit them all over. And I'd like to see that 5-on-5 cricket.
You have the women's first, and you have the men's, and then and imagine having a mixed team.
Oh yeah, that'd be
You have
good.
a mixed, like international, like the Australians have a mixed team, England, India all have mixed teams.
Love it.
You're going for you have its own cup.
Trademark it deal.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Put it on the table.
I love it. Special guest. All right. Now we get to the good part of the show, the meaty part. Our special guest today, we're super lucky to have one of the all-time greats, number one herself, Jeneane Lesko from the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. Lesko, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
You've been sitting there patiently. How have you enjoyed our chat so far? Are you just really confused, or?
Oh no, I'm astonished that you have so much going on in the other sports other than baseball.
Yeah, well, there's no baseball here.
Nah.
No baseball chat down here, unfortunately, for women at the moment. Hopefully that changes. But we are really excited to have you in the studio. Obviously, you were part of the inspiration for famous movie, and I don't want to say famous baseball movie, famous sports movie, A League of Their Own. Tom Hanks, Madonna, Gina Davis, Laurie Petty, all the other amazing superstars who are in that movie. Just before we keep talking here, who played you in the movie? Like, who was you, do you think? Like, who, if you were comparing?
Well, I guess it would have to be the pitcher that, because I was a pitcher that I'm more identified with, but
Yeah, so Laurie Petty.
yeah.
She was a bit of a troublemaker, so that seems pretty accurate.
Yeah, I think she still is.
Throw her under the bus.
Like you.
Yeah, like me.
Lesko, native of Seattle, is come from Seattle, and she's here for a special event, the Melbourne Women's Baseball Tournament. Lesko, how excited are you to be back? I mean, your relationship with Australia has been going, I calculated this just yesterday or a couple of days ago when you arrived, 20 years now we've been mates, like really, really great friends. I count you as one of my best friends in the world. 20 years. What's it like coming back here, and how do you feel about being back in the land of Oz again?
Oh, I'm really enjoying it. I see it from a whole different perspective now that I'm much older. So, yeah, I can't wait to see some of the kids that we did. We went and tried to teach them some baseball while I was here the first year that I came down to 20
So you're going to be
ago.
checking if they're any better, or?
I'm going to see if they're still out there.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's changed for you? So you met us for the first time. We had a tournament in Orlando in the US. You arrived, we arrived, and we've sort of been mates ever since and travelling the world ever since. What's changed for you in baseball after all these years? Like, do you see the game differently? Do you enjoy the game for different reasons? Tell us about how your relationship with the game has changed since we met.
Well, obviously I'm not playing anymore, but yeah, the game has really changed, and you know the food and the health ways and the places where girls can do exercises, and when we couldn't even have PE if you were a girl in my age, you know, you were like a queen and you could get hurt so easily, and the game is really advanced from what we played because these girls are so much bigger and stronger, and they really are very competitive, and there's a great movement now in the United States to start another women's professional baseball league, and the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League is still going out there. We have a website where you can find out all the information about all the players that were in it. It was a 12-year tournament, teams playing each other for competition. And professionally, we didn't make that much money. We only made like $50 a month, but a lot of the girls sent half of that money back to their parents, who were making even less, since it was all right at the time that World War II was about to.
What do you think $50 a month is comparative to now? Like, what would that be now?
Oh, probably 20,000. I don't know.
Wowee.
Yeah, I'm in real estate, and that's about the way the real estate market in Washington's gone up. About that much difference in what it used to be.
Yeah, man, what a change.
Yeah.
You're just talking about you couldn't do PE, like when you were in school, you couldn't do PE.
Well, we had it was like 3 times a week we'd do health, and then 2 times we'd have physical education, and it was generally the math teachers who just brought whatever sport we were actually doing, which was always only basketball and softball, not baseball, of course. So when we started, I was a senior in college or high school first, and went through college when I was playing during the league in the summer. And it was quite exciting, because a lot of the Army and Navy troops would come to our ball games, and we had like $20,000 in the people coming to the games. And it was because they were during the war, and the men weren't playing baseball, or those of them that had some kind of handicaps were out playing with one arms, and there's very little interest in men's baseball. So people were at home, and there was no TV, so they would come out and watch us play with their families and have lunches in the stands. And it was very much home based in the different cities in the Midwest. So yeah, it was great.
What are your memories? And you may not have many, but you may. But Title IX. 1972. So how old would you have been in 1972?
40.
Do you remember that time in the US?
Yeah, I remember Billie Jean King playing that tennis match, and that had a big impact on me. And I didn't like competing with men, particularly because they obviously are much stronger and hit the ball a lot further. So we do now, with our Major League Baseball national team, play other nations around the world, including here against Australians. And so that's been going on now for 20 years, every 2 years, most of the time, maybe not during COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've kind of brought baseball to the forefront in America, and we expect in the next couple of years there'll be a professional league playing baseball. Major League Baseball is funding all over the United States for clinics for girls to learn how to play baseball, and parents are really excited about it. And all we're doing is just waiting till they're all ready to come out of the closet. Those have been playing with boys all their life, through junior high and high school. And yeah, it's been kind of rough for them, but they love it when they come to the clinics at the MLB, Major League Baseball players, girls that are playing those national teams, and they love it, and the parents love it, that they get to play with girls. And for 90% of them have only played with boys with the boy leagues, and there were no tournaments or teams playing around the United States. But it's going to happen very soon, and I hope in my lifetime.
Well, that was like when we went over to America. We saw obviously the baseball, a few tours of the baseball facilities and the ice hockeys as well. And I spoke to a few people that were with us, who are part of the industry over there, and I asked them, what do you like with school programs and the younger generations and that? And they said that baseball and field hockey and ice hockey, they are the 3 sports that are getting funding and getting really pushed out at the moment to schools, school program, clinics, and really trying to ramp them up. So even though it's not just girls, but boys as well, but it's good to see that these sports, especially for females who don't have a lot of love at the moment, are getting that attention that they need so they can grow which is great to hear worldwide.
Absolutely. Those conversations are really interesting when we're over there. Some of you, most people watching, I'm guessing, wouldn't know that you also played professional golf. So you're only in the league for a little bit at the end, towards the end, a couple of years, and then decided, okay, well, I've played professional baseball. I might play professional golf, as you do. No one does that. But you did it. You went on to play a second sport professionally. Tell us about life as a professional golfer and how long you played and what that experience meant to you.
Well, it really, it was kind of like it is today with baseball. It's just the individual people who were playing were playing, but it wasn't the LPGA, and that really was the beginning of women's baseball. I didn't realize how close I was to when women's golf started, and so it was kind of, we had a really brief period of time that we played during the fall and the summer. But now that sport has grown so that it's almost always somebody from another nation that wins these tournaments because it's so popular now.
Yeah.
And and it was a very interesting thing how well girls could play golf. They really hit the ball great.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I felt very very excited about the fact that I had that opportunity to play with those gals that were already established heroes in the golfing profession, and they tried to bring me along, and I almost got into the finishing leadership one tournament, and it was very one when in North Carolina when they brought Martin Luther King back that I did that, and so I was starting to get pretty good, but then we had a lot of national politics and stuff, and I went back and gave it up after a couple of years.
It's interesting to note you were a left-handed pitcher,
right?
But you went on to play golf.
Yeah.
So you weren't like Shea Lillywhite, who was the best hitter ever, going to play golf. Like, did you ever hit when you were pitching? Like, were you a hitter? Could you hit?
When I was a pitcher, I never had any training at all at pitching, and I was just told that I should try to be a pitcher because I was left-handed. So I had very little training starting, and so the first year I didn't do well at all. But
I've seen your ERA.
Yeah,
it's not great.
Throw her under the bus there.
You might want to edit your baseball card, actually.
Well, I have to tell the truth, and I have to leave it where it is. I wasn't a hitter, that's for sure. I did bunt in the winning run one time.
Oh,
let's go.
And in Michigan, where I was not at the home plate, but
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Couple of other questions for you, or topics, but the friends you've made. I know you've made a lot of friends in baseball, and you've been able to travel the world and see a lot of things that you wouldn't have seen, and meet a lot of people you wouldn't have met without baseball and without the game.
Yeah.
But the Aussie mates you've made, how important have they become to you? Like you've talked to me about this a few times, that you don't look a day over 21, but you're 89, you're turning 90 this year in March the 28th. What's it like to, you tell me when you see us, you feel young again, and it's like you're not, when you go home, you're the sort of older lady who people sort of say can't do things and you're getting old, whereas you come here and we just, let's go. We get our gloves out and have a throw, and it's like you're young again. Do you still feel like that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is my home away from home here. You're just like family to me. Yeah, I look forward to coming the few times that I've been able to come over. But when we were touring around, we had a baseball teams that went to the United States, and Simone and several other people were involved in that from Australia, and we would go over there and play, usually softball players who, because we didn't have many baseball players, we'd convert the softball players to play baseball against them.
We did do that.
And we had an awesome time for like 10 years doing that. And that really bonded our relationship, and I'll never forget all the good times we had.
Absolutely. You're here for the Melbourne tournament, and you've sort of touched on this already. This is you at the very first event 8 years ago, 2016.
Uh-huh.
And do you remember coming over for this tournament? And this is really for those who are listening, the Melbourne Women's Baseball Tournament is one of a kind. You can't enter a team, you have to enter as an individual. There are 196 players from around the world who are going to play in this tournament next weekend. It's over the Australia Day long weekend. From 6 different countries. There are 20 Japanese players.
Wow.
It's massive, and it's grown. The first tournament, I think we had 65 players, and 8 years later we're at close to 200, and we're at capacity. We can't take any more players now. We had to knock players back this time around, but do you remember coming for the first one, and tell me what you're most looking forward to about next weekend?
Oh, I'm looking forward to meeting those people that were in that tournament. That, I've come back several times, and I've got real friendships, and they've come to the U.S. and they were even there for the World Series last year in Seattle, where I live, and so we've kept in touch, and there's a camaraderie there that will never go away. The gals that we played with and the gals we played against here at the tournaments always remember me every time I come back. It's a big homecoming for me.
Yeah, cool. It's going to be great fun. You said you don't play anymore, and you don't play in games, sure, but you still throw a ball.
I practice throwing a ball on a string into my couch. So I try to keep so I can still throw out the first pitch.
So on the screen I've got 2 photos. The photo on the right, I believe, is 2018. So that's 6 and a bit years ago now. And the one on the left is you and I in a hotel car park in Anaheim, in LA. And you said to me, you were 79. You hadn't quite turned 80. And you wanted me to teach you how to throw a slider.
Yes.
So here you are at 79 in a car park, and there was we had like 50 people on this tour, right, Dill? And they're all the kids and parents, and they're all out there like watching.
Is this the tour you were talking about when we were over there?
One of them. There's a few of them. 79 years old. Simone, you got to teach me. Like, I've seen your slider's pretty good. Can you help me? I've never quite been able to get it. So we're in the car park for an hour. Until basically you couldn't move anymore.
That's right.
One of the things I love about you.
Personal trainer over here.
One of the things I love about you, you've got some great qualities as a human, but one of them is that you just every day you want to do better.
Exactly. Yeah. And I want to get back what I'm losing at the moment. Some of that power is going fast.
You're just every day trying to get better, whether it's in your career. So for those listening, Lesko still goes to work every day. She's not retired. She's investing in a business.
Wow.
She's supporting her kids and their dreams and goals. She's got grandkids. She's still travelling around with the AAG PBL, going to MLB events, doing what she can to grow the game and keep the AAG PBL alive as well, which is important that people know about it. So please do go to the website, the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the AAG PBL. You can become an associate member. There are details on the website, Lesko.
Yes.
That they can find. Before we finish up, Lesko, any advice to any people out there listening about getting the most out of, this isn't a baseball question, the most out of themselves in their life after all the things you've learnt over the years?
Yes. I think it's the most important thing in the world that these kids are brought up playing some kind of sport, active sport. I mean, it's keeping me alive. You know, everybody on the team I played with is now dead, the Grand Rapids Chicks, but they're still people out there 110 years old that are still around, and I believe it all has to do with being active my whole life. My parents put me in acrobatics when I was 3 years old, and I've been moving every part of my body ever since.
Absolute athlete.
Great advice, Lesko. Great advice. The one to watch this week as we finish up the Melbourne Women's Baseball Tournament, you can follow it on socials. There's a Facebook page that'll keep you updated. There's also an Instagram account that you can follow. There'll be some interviews with some of the players and the coaches, and there'll be game updates, and there's a bunch of other stuff happening away from off the field and on the field, but events outside of baseball. Check it out if you don't know anything about it. It's going to be really cool. We've loved having you on, Lesko.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
It's great to have a guest in the studio. I know Caro was disappointed she couldn't be here, but Padge, you've been great. I feel like you're going to end up back on the Crumbs. What do you think?
Well, to be honest, I've had a lot of fun on this side of the walls. Yeah, who knows? You may send me around a little bit more on the table. I don't want to go anywhere too soon, so
excellent.
Let's see what happens.
I'm going to set a challenge for you. The challenge is next time we deliver a Crumbs episode, you're going to bring one women's sport topic to the table, and we'll discuss it. I look forward to it. Thank you to those who've tuned in. Special shout out to our two favourite followers, Jenny and Kira. You guys are the bomb. And to Benny, our producer today, well done. Thanks to everyone for joining.
Thanks, guys.
Catch you later.